In this webinar, we will be sharing two different types of Portugal visas. Number one, the Portugal Golden Visa, and secondly, the D7 visa, where both would be a good entry point or gateway for you to live, work, or study in all other 26 European countries that you prefer. So yes, you heard me right. The wonderful feature about this program is basically the fact of you holding one visa, but you get 27 countries eventually. So that is really attractive, isn't it? And you will find out more later in the session. So these two popular programs have their own distinct feature, such as the Portugal Golden Visa requires an investment of 280,000 euros, whereas the D7 visa does not require any investment at all, but just evidence of your passive income of at least 760 euros per month. And on the residency requirement, the Portugal Golden Visa is much more flexible and friendlier, whereby you would just need to visit Portugal 14 days every 2 years, whereas the D7 is heavier residency requirement. So in short, with the Portugal Golden Visa, you do not need to migrate or move to Portugal. And with the D7, it's better suited for those who are willing to actually move over and reside in Portugal. So more details will be shared later in the session for you, so you can see which suits you best. Before we start, I would just like to quickly run through about our company and speakers for today. So Global Migration Solutions, we are a licensed migration advisory firm. We are known to be a company that offers premier migration services that advocates the right migration practices with trust, service, and commitment for our clients, our partners, ourselves, and our brand. We are an award-winning with 19 years of presence with reputable success rate of 99%. And over these years, we have helped more than 12,000 families migrate to their chosen destination. And this number continues to grow year after year. We are honored to share that we are recognized in the industry as a recipient of multiple awards from U Global Immigration Magazine in the US every year. Our presence is across Asia Pacific with 6 offices over Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Cambodia. So that's a bit about ourselves. Let's move on to the speakers. So here's the lineup of our speakers for today. First speaker would be Desmond. Desmond, can you just say hi?
Hi, everyone, and good afternoon. And thank you for joining us. And it is nice to have all of you here today.
Thanks, Desmond. So Desmond is the Managing Director and founder of Global Migration Solutions. Desmond has 19 years of migration experience plus 6 years of experience being a chartered accountant prior to being in the migration industry. So he is also the only advisor who is being awarded with the top 25 Global Migration Agency CEO in Malaysia by U Global in United States. So Desmond is basically the best person to advise you on the migration options suitable for you and your family, right? Next speaker is Antonio. Antonio, can you say hi?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning from Lisbon.
Yeah, so Antonio is based in Lisbon. So Antonio is our Portugal immigration lawyer and senior partner of EFCO Legal based in Lisbon, and Antonio has been wonderfully handling all our visa applications, Golden Visa, D7 for all our clients. He has 20 years of experience in legal work and migration advisory. He has great expertise with the entire Portugal immigration framework, and it's very assuring to work with someone as knowledgeable and well-versed like Antonio. So Antonio, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Audrey.
Next speaker, Jamie.
Bom dia, boa tarde. Basically, I'm Jamie from Intergentium Asia. I'm a Portuguese Golden Visa holder and a resident of Portugal. And my job is basically to help our clients and to increase our Portuguese community in Malaysia.
That's a nice objective, Jamie. So Jamie is the Managing Director of Intergentium Asia. Jamie's area of support and expertise is beyond whatever that she's told you, is actually to provide suitable real estate opportunities for investors to qualify for the Golden Visa, and also a full settlement service in Portugal for those who wish to settle down in Portugal. So we've been working very closely with Jamie, and we've been always impressed with the attractive investment solutions she's able to bring to our clients, and her supportive team who's actually on ground in Portugal to support clients once they've actually moved to Portugal. All right, so it's a complete one-stop solution from Jamie's team. So these are the 3 experts who will be speaking today. I'm sure it's going to be a great session. So sit back and enjoy, everyone. I'm going to pass over to Desmond.
Hi, Audrey. Thank you for the introduction. And again, hi, everyone. And I hope that you have a good day today. Today, we will be sharing with you the 2 most popular programs, which is the Portugal Golden Visa and the D7, of which the Golden Visa was being nominated by Forbes as the world #1 residency by investment program for the second passport. So I'm here very excited to share with all of you, and I'm going to start off by giving you some of the direction on how you should remember these programs and see how these programs suit your plan. Now, so if you are one of them, basically these 2 programs are very well received among people all over the world. And last year, particularly from American is the top migrants to Portugal. And beside that, we have British, we have Brazilian, but of course also the Asian. So migrants are moving to Portugal or taking up these for various reasons. And let's have a look at one of those common reasons. And if you are one of them, I must tell you, these 2 programs are amazing and it suits the plan and is going to be very beneficial to you and your family members. Now, so we have people taking up these programs if they are looking at accessing to the European Union and they're using Portugal as an entry point. We also see high net worth individual who is looking at investment purposes, and the investment is going to bring them the second residency option, and that allows them to diversify their international holdings and to relocate some of their assets in European region. We also see family members are looking at relocating to a country, it's a safe country like Portugal. So just for the ranking, Portugal is amazing. It's voted as the world's safest country in the world, right after Iceland and New Zealand. We also seen retiree who is looking at a suitable countries to live in. In fact, Portugal, for information, is the #1 country in Europe for retirement purposes, and a lot of British, a lot of retirees from the region, and now we started to see a lot more retirees from Asian choosing the Portugal as the destination, simply because the children are working and studying in the European region, and some of them are in UK. By having to live in Portugal, that helps them to travel within a short distance to meet and to spend time with their children. Now, we also see professional and digital nomad who is looking at working to base in European Union, yeah. And also for children's education, this is one of the very important reasons. Again, using Portugal as an entry point and to pick up some of the famous university in Portugal. If not, then a lot more world #1 or world ranking university around the region. But of course, for a lot of people, the end game is always picking up the citizenship and the passport. We also see people who is not ready to move over yet, who are just simply looking at a second residency option or a second passport in the future. And this program again suits you best because it doesn't take you a lot of the efforts to achieve that, yeah. And we are going to share with you shortly. Now, let's have a look at the quick comparisons between these 2 programs. And let's have an overview, between the 2 visa, just to reinstate what Audrey had explained earlier. The Portugal Golden Visa allows you to obtain the second residency by investing in Portugal through buying a property, for example, or funds or capital transfer. But do remember, your investment is not just in the tangible asset, such as property, but more importantly, which is in your children's future, in my opinion, yeah? And D7, on the other hand, doesn't require the investment, but it does require to demonstrate that you have a passive income to be able to sustain in Portugal, which comes with, a much longer residency in Portugal once your visa is approved. G7 or Golden Visa, a GV for example, GV or Golden Visa on the other hand, require to invest. But as I mentioned earlier, the residency requirement is very flexible. Simply, the requirement is 35 days and over the 5 years, and you're simply traveling there to fulfill that residency requirement without having to relocate, for at least for the next 5 years. So this is a quick comparison. Now, how does these programs help you? And let's just look at the 3 simple steps. So first of all, you're going to decide on whether or not the Golden Visa or the D7 is the one that suits you. And after that, once the visa is approved, and in about a year or so, you have about 1 year to get the process through, then there are 5 years of residency requirements for you to be fulfilled. As I mentioned earlier, the Golden Visa has relatively a much shorter residency requirement, of which is just 35 days over the 5 years, whereas the D7 do require to spend on average about 8 months per year. For the Golden Visa, you are required to maintain the investment for a period of minimum 5 years, or D7 would require to be able to demonstrate your passive income throughout the whole duration, being a D7 resident. And after the 5 years, you and your family member do have an option to take up the passport, the Portuguese passport, which is basically equivalent to the EU passport. And this is one of the most important status, as an EU citizen, whereby you and your family member are open up to the entire European opportunities. Yeah. And of course, when you are taking up the European citizenship, the opportunity is not just limited to the education, but the healthcare, the ability to be able to reside in any of these countries, yeah, and to work in any of these countries. So look at this transition using Portugal as an entry point. We do welcome you to stay in Portugal because this is one of the beautiful countries. It's a very safe country, the country that comes with a lot of opportunity, a country that is in the growth, and we are going to see a lot more coming up from this country. Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons for you all to stay on. We have seen high net worth moving over to this country and for many other reasons. So we are here to share with you all the facts and the information, and hoping that this is one of the programs that you and your families are going to be taking up for your children and your family members and open up the opportunity for them. Yes, and this is what I'm sharing today. And let's have a quick look at the introduction of our legal partner, EFCO Legal from Portugal, before I pass the floor over to Antonio. Antonio, over to you, please.
Thank you, Desmond. Thank you. It's always great to be on your webinars. Good morning, everyone. And I would just like to start by highlighting that Desmond has done a great job in illustrating the differences between the D7 visa and the Golden Visa. And now we're going to dig in a little bit deeper. Of course, the D7 being a non-lucrative kind of visa requires each applicant to produce evidence that he or she earns passive income. And what kind of income qualifies as passive? Well, of course, pension, dividends, interest from securities, royalties, and rental income. All of this would qualify perfectly. Now, in terms of main requirements to further the application, you would need to show that you have some kind of dwelling in Portugal, whether you have bought a house or a lease agreement will do just fine. And the initial financial resources that you must show are actually on the low side, because you are simply required to show a total of 760 euro per month. And this is because that is equivalent to the Portuguese minimum salary. So you should be able to show that you have 12 times the minimum salary. That's for the main applicant, 50% for each extra adult and 30% for each child. And yes, adults, other adults and children, because the D7 allows you to reunify family members. And this includes, of course, spouse or your partner, children under legal age or handicapped relatives, children 18 and above, as long as they're financially dependent, which means single and studying in a Portuguese school or university. And then the applicant's parents and in-laws, also if they're financially dependent, as well as minor siblings, as long as they are under the applicant's custody. Now, what does the D7 visa entail? As its name suggests, what you're getting initially is a visa. And that visa has a duration of 4 months, during which time you travel to Portugal, and in that period, you would get your appointment with the immigration authorities and transform that visa into a temporary residency card, okay? So over a 5-year period, you get 2 cards. The initial one is good for 2 years, and the second one is good for 3 years. After which, during those 5 years of residency, that you can apply for permanent residency or citizenship, because 5 years of actual presence in Portugal allows you to go for either option. Now, of course, in the D7 visa, there are minimum stay requirements, and the applicant cannot be away for 6 consecutive months or 8 months overall in each period, whether it's that initial 2-year period or subsequent 3-year period, okay? Once we have transitioned into the permanent residency status, then the applicant cannot be away for 24 consecutive months in each 5-year period, or in a 3-year period for a total of 30 months. And of course, in either case, exceptions are allowed as long as they are justifiable. And of course, work reasons or health-related reasons usually come up top of the list, and these would generally be notified prior to leaving Portugal. A common question arises when the main applicant has to leave Portugal or is not present in Portugal for whatever reasons. And what happens to the family members? Well, it is possible for family members to secure what is known as an autonomous temporary residency card. And that will take place, or that happens, 2 years after the issuance of the first card, as long as, of course, those family ties maintain or persist. And in any event, there is no period or mandatory stay period for the autonomous temporary residency card, as long as there are minor children living in Portugal. And thirdly, there are some exemptions in the case of, let's say, divorce or widowhood. And again, there's no minimum period in this case, and the family member would be granted an autonomous temporary residency card. Moving on to the Golden Visa. Now, as Desmond highlighted, we're looking at a residency by investment program. One that implies or does not entail, better put, no relocation. Again, just like in the D7, we can reunify family members. The only difference is that for the Golden Visa, and despite what the slide says, children 18 and above can study anywhere in the world. So even if, let's say, your child that is above 18 and studying in Malaysia or in any other country, in the UK, and they still have not completed yet their university studies, they can do so. So there is no need, and that's a big difference with the D7 visa, that the D7 visa for adult children, they need to be studying in Portugal. With the Golden Visa, they can be studying anywhere in the world. And the rest is pretty much the same. In terms of card duration, the initial card is also 2 years, but then you would renew twice. And each of those extra cards is an extra 2 years. So 2 plus 2 plus 2, during which time, during each period, 2-year period, you would need to stay 14 days. Okay, and within 2-year period, you can spend these 14 days in one go or break them up during each of these 2-year periods. And the applicant and each family member need to fulfill those 14 days in order to, of course, be able to transition later on to permanent residency or citizenship. Now, this being a residency by investment program requires, of course, an eligible investment. Now, Portugal has no shortage of options. I would nevertheless like to direct your attention specifically to letters E and F. So E is a purchase of a property worth 500,000 euro, or letter F, the threshold is lower, and we're looking at 350,000 euro. In this case, the cost of the property plus the cost of the refurbishment needs to reach 350,000 euro. So moving on, yes, after your 5 years, when you've fulfilled 5 years, you can apply for residency, for citizenship, and you get full dual citizenship. So from a Portuguese perspective, there is no concern what your nationality of origin might be. You, from a Portuguese perspective, again, you are granted a full dual citizenship. In terms of benefits, citizenship allows you, of course, full freedom of movement within the Schengen area, and we have welcomed Croatia just recently to the group of countries that are part of the Schengen area. And of course, it also allows you to live, work, and study in any EU member country. It entails lower university fees, and of course, no minimum stay requirements once you become citizenship. Now, as a Portuguese citizen, will I be considered a tax resident? No, this does not work like in the US. Citizenship does not automatically convert you into a Portuguese tax resident. The criteria to become a tax resident are spending more than 183 days of the year, or if you possess a home in Portugal, which is presumed to be your main residence, the main place where you live. Now, amongst the requirements, apart from, of course, showing that you have lived those 5 years, apart from showing a clean criminal record, then there is a test, or you need to produce anyhow a certificate showing that you have attained a minimum level of Portuguese. And when I say minimum, it really is minimum. It's an A2 level, considering that the A1 is the lowest of all, the most basic of all Portuguese levels, then we're looking at the next. So it's A2, and it goes up to C3. So just to let you know, in the scale of things, A2 is really very, very basic. And that's all from me. So I will now leave you in the very good hands of Jamie, who will explain a little bit about sourcing of properties and how to best suit your investment requirements. Thank you very much.
In an increasingly globalized world, how does a country stand out? This is a country made of land and sea, a crossroad between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, a link between cultures and continents. This is the homeland of talented people, a founding member of the Euro, a gateway to a market of 500 million people. This is the home of a world leader in fast and ultra-fast chargers for electric vehicles, a country that produces more than half of its energy out of renewable sources, a privileged partner for innovation. Every day, more and more companies come to work and think with us. We also produce cars, but above all, we think cars. Think the green road ahead of us, and think the future. Innovation is taking the country to new frontiers. This is the world's biggest cork producer, transforming cork for the most traditional and revolutionary uses. From the top of the most precious wine bottles in the world to thermal shields and rockets and spaceships destined for space. This is a leading tourist destination in the world. A competitive and sustainable location. A top country in providing technological services. Host of great international events integrated in some of the most important value chains in the world. That attracts and keeps some of the most talented people. So how does a country stand out in an increasingly globalized world? Well, I guess it's by welcoming the world and bridging cultures. Portugal, talented and welcoming.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank you again for your time, and also like to share with you personally on my own experience on why I've decided to invest in Portugal, and now I'm currently a resident of Portugal as well. I would say since I have become a resident of Portugal, I'm actually very excited, as you can see in the video, that it has actually grown a lot. And today it is now voted as one of the top residency and second passport by Forbes. And by being by Portuguese citizen, you are also entitled to be an EU citizen, which then allows you to travel visa-free to 186 countries, including places like US and Canada and so on. And thus, you are then holding the 5th most powerful passport. The other thing I have to say as well, which I really like about Portugal, is that the safety is actually the 3rd most peaceful country in the world. And for me, that's actually very important, because I can actually walk alone at 2 a.m. and not worry about safety. And especially in today's day and age, I find that safety is a major concern for a lot of people, especially when you have your family with you. More importantly, I have to say that I'm also very excited to that by being a Portuguese resident, and during this whole pandemic, it's also taught me that I actually have an alternative healthcare backup, because Portugal ranks 12th in the world in terms of the healthcare. And it was also very easy for me to be working and making friends, because English is widely spoken as much as Malaysians and Singaporeans. And it is definitely one of the top choices for a lot of people in terms of relocation, because they have a lot of tax benefits for all your investments. The other thing I have to say, other than investment as a golden visa, I think for people who are interested to just live or retire or move there, one of the reasons why Portugal has become one of the top places for even Americans to retire to. It's because it has a really low cost of living. And as you can see from the list, it is really ranked one of the cheapest in Europe itself. And the other thing that I really like, as you can see in the video as well, is, and also by having our own personal experiences of our clients who have actually moved to Portugal, they find actually it's very easy to settle in. People are very friendly. There is no racism. Everybody is fairly equal, and they are very welcoming in terms of international community. And Portugal ranks, as you can see, number 9 in terms of the ease of settling in. And even in terms of, let's say, setting up businesses and companies and so on, or if you choose to even work in Portugal, what is really good about it is that the cost of living, because it's quite low, the minimum wage is also very low, which then encourages a lot of people to actually start certain businesses, and the barriers of entry is actually very low. In addition to that, I would say one of the major reasons why I also consider being a resident of Portugal is the fact that it will allow you to enjoy a big education savings. There are several routes that one can consider in enjoying the education benefits. One is just by going through the programs that Portugal has to offer through the Erasmus program. The Erasmus program, basically, it's an EU initiative which actually allows your child to be able to transfer credits to different countries within EU itself, and they can enjoy a host of benefits and experience the different cultures in the different countries. If they also choose to do the route of acquiring citizenship, then they can also enjoy some really low fees. And we are talking about fees of something like 5,000 euros versus 25,000 euros for a non-EU citizen. And I think this is definitely something very attractive for a lot of people in terms of planning ahead for their children and for their education. In terms of property investments, I have to say that even though the D7 doesn't require one to actually invest into a property, we still have a lot of clients of D7s who are still looking for properties, because a lot of the properties have actually increased in value, and you also get very good returns. So one of the things that we actually do is we would like to normally assess our clients to see what their objectives are, whether it is just merely for an investment, or are they looking for a holiday home, or it is actually for them to relocate to, or actually for them to do a business. So these are just some of the considerations and the options that you can consider. And in terms of the hotspots, I have to say, being a fellow Lisbonite, I actually really enjoy Lisbon very, very much indeed. Although the other areas of Cascais and Estoril and Douro and Porto itself also is a very charming city on its own, and especially even in Algarve, and recently for our golden visa holders, whereby there are certain requirements to only invest in certain areas. Alcácer, Comporta, and Évora has become a major destination choice, and it's actually growing in terms of popularity. This is just a little bit on a map of Portugal. And actually, it's quite similar to Peninsular Malaysia, with Kuala Lumpur being at the location of Lisbon, whereby that's located actually on the east of Portugal, on the west of Portugal. And then if you go further down south to Algarve, this is actually like Johor Bahru to Kuala Lumpur, around 3 hours. And then if you were to go north of Lisbon to Porto, that's around 3 hours, like Penang to us. And then if you go towards the east of Portugal itself, that's where it borders with Spain. And that's like us driving to Kuantan itself. It's just that after that, it's Spain. So this map is quite important, just a general guideline, because there were some legislation changes that were recently made, whereby it will allow people to invest in residential properties in the green area, and in the white areas. Normally, this is where commercial and service apartments are still eligible. And again, this is something that we can also cover when we do have a thorough consultation with our clients. These are just some of the examples of the projects that we have actually done. We actually do a host of projects. We collaborate with many developers and many agencies to ensure that we are able to give the dream home and the dream investment for our clients. More importantly, as Audrey said in our introduction, we pride ourselves for building relationships with our developers. And we have a team that is based in Portugal, although myself, I'm actually there every 4 to 6 months to make sure that we check on our projects, that we deliver our projects to our clients and give an end-to-end solution in helping them also with the rentals and the management of the project, because our vision is actually to be with our clients throughout the entire duration of them keeping their investments in Portugal. And it is our pleasure to actually welcome them to our Portuguese community. I'm going to pass it over back to Desmond right now, because I would say for today's purpose, I think property investments and so on, it's something that we normally will take on a separate consultation. And thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Jamie. And thanks, Antonio, again. I would like to just do a quick summary from today's presentation. I think that these two programs, both D7 and the Golden Visa, are fantastic programs. Both gives you an entry requirement that is achievable, but more importantly, after you have obtained the visa, that gives you a pathway to obtain the citizenship and become an EU resident or citizens. And that opens up the opportunity your children and your family have. And it is not limited to just in Portugal, but the rest of the 26 countries in total within the Schengen area. And you think about this, your children will have the chance to study and learn in one of the world's best education system within the EU region and can pursue the education options and eventually work within the 27 countries. So this is a quick summary, but I think this is a precise and a direction that I would like to set for you to think and to explore these programs further. And thank you very much. Audrey, is there any question from the floor that anyone would like to clarify or seek information further? Over to you, please, Audrey.
All right, thank you. Yes, in fact, we do have a couple of questions already. The first question, I'll pose this to Antonio, because the person is asking if there's any potential legislation changes that's upcoming for any of this program, whether D7 or Golden Visa. Antonio?
Thank you, Audrey. Well, for the D7, no, there has been no amendment recently and no purported amendment in the future. And for the Golden Visa, the one that we have known about is the one that entered into force earlier in January 2022, and that restricts some of the residential property options into the interior parts of Portugal. And if there will be in the future, well, that remains to be seen.
Right. Okay. And while I have you, Antonio, can you just also explain about the family reunification? Like who exactly is able to be added into the application, and how easy is it to add like a dependent child who is perhaps even above 18? Is this even possible?
Yes. So for either option, whether it's the D7 or the Golden Visa, we're looking at essentially the same group of family members that include spouse, partner, children below 18 and above 18, as long as they're financially dependent and studying. The difference between the D7 and the Golden Visa is that the D7, for the D7 option, the child has to be studying in Portugal, and for the Golden Visa option, the child can be studying anywhere in the world. So it's not mandatory that the child studies in a Portuguese institution. And then we also have the applicant's parents or in-laws. And finally, siblings, as long as they are under the applicant's custody. Okay, so there has to be a legal document showing that legal custody.
Right, okay. Desmond, perhaps you can also add on to this, because you also have been giving a lot of other migration advices for other programs, right? How do you see the family reunification when it comes to Portugal versus other programs that you do?
All right, I'm happy to share with this from, among the programs from different jurisdictions. I must say the Portugal government has came up with a very family-oriented policy when it comes to the migration law and the policy. In many other countries, there's the age limit on the children's reunification, or the dependency of the children is kept at, for example, United States at the age of 21 years old, for Australia at the age of 23 years old. For example, Portugal doesn't have any age limit, provided that the children is single and still financially depending on the children, on the fathers and the mom. So this is really amazing, even if your children is at the age of 25 or 26, and should they still be studying, and they can be included in the application. Yeah, but what I would like to also emphasize on, is in terms of the healthcare, in terms of the health, meeting the health requirement. A lot of other programs also have a very stringent requirements on the health check. Portugal, on the other hand, waive off the medical criteria. So should you have a gifted child or any of the family members comes with different medical history or the condition, all of you are welcome. In addition to that, do also take note the family members, there are 3 generations all in total. You can consider having your parents and your parents-in-law to also be included in an application with one single investment. So this is a program that is very family oriented. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, Desmond, for that. Okay, next question is investment related. So Jamie, I'm going to pose this question to you. What are the trends of investments, and how do someone actually proceed with it? Like, do they need to actually fly to Portugal to do this?
Okay. Just to answer your question, so I think in terms of the trends of investment, since the changes were announced recently, I have to say that there has been a growing demand in terms of commercial properties. And I think this is also due to the fact that I think in commercial properties, there's also a lot of growth. And we can see from the recent reports, which actually some of the webinar attendees can actually get from me, from the GLL reports and the other reports that we've actually been analyzing, that there has been an increased trend in terms of commercial properties because there's still a lot of growth and there's still a lot of demand in that sense. And Portugal is still growing day by day with a lot of international brands. There are still or new entrepreneurs who are setting up businesses and so on. So in terms of the commercial properties, I would say there's still a big growing demand. The other thing I have to say is that after having spent a lot of time in Portugal in the interior areas and in the green areas of the map, for residential, we are beginning to see that people, I think after pandemic, are beginning to move out from the major cities. And so even though with the changes in legislation, we only allow them to invest in the green areas, we find that the green areas are really growing, not just because of golden visa holders, but I think people just in general after the pandemic really want to have a lifestyle that's less hectic, that has access to a well-balanced life, to where they have access to the sea, to the vineyards, and where they can also have a better quality of life. So I think those are I would say the major changes that we've been seeing. And I think how we normally can help, I have to say that we are quite happy because we have we're one of the very few service providers who actually have a full team that's actually set up there. And being a licensed Portuguese real estate company, we have actually been able to help our clients to even do like virtual tours. So we have our team there who can be able to show virtual tours to our clients. So, and we have a familiarization as well to help them to understand the locations and so on. And so because of this, I think the clients are extremely happy. And I have to say the testimonials from our clients, we are really happy. That so far, I would say a lot of clients are very happy with the properties that have been transacted through us because we give a one-stop solution from the day that they start investing with us until even the day that the keys are actually delivered. So that's the promise that we actually give to our clients. And again, we'll be more than happy to sit down with our clients on a one-on-one consultation to fully understand their requirements so that we can give them a customized boutique solution which will suit their best interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jamie. We've got one more question. Antonio, I'm going to pass this question to you because it's about taxes. So what are the taxes applicable for D7 or GB holder? Does it actually differ?
Mm-hmm. Well, as we mentioned earlier, for the Golden Visa applicant, there's no requirement to become a tax resident, simply because if the applicant would so choose not to live on a permanent basis in Portugal, then there would be no tax implications at all. Now, with regard to the D7 applicant, as we have seen, yes, there is a majority of days in each fiscal year to be spent in Portugal, and therefore the applicant would become a tax resident in Portugal. Now, apart from the immigration side, either D7 or Golden Visa, then there's also a tax program for new tax residents. And this would include people that have not been a tax resident of Portugal during the past 5 years. And this program is called a non-habitual residency, which is a little bit of a confusing name, but nevertheless, it pertains to tax and it gives you significant tax advantage over a 10-year period. So I will not get into this details because, well, it would eat up, and it's not definitely the purpose of today's presentation. But nevertheless, I would highlight that this would also be an excellent opportunity that Portugal has to offer for those who wish to relocate. So it's not only the immigration aspect, but also through proper planning, a very tax efficient solution can be provided.
Thanks, Antonio. Thanks for that. So that's all the questions that we have for today. Is there, before we conclude the session, is there anything else that Jamie, would you like to say anything to the attendees?
I have to say that I think Portugal is really a beautiful country. And I would be more than happy to be able to assist you to be part of this Portuguese community because the country really has a lot to offer. And even if it's just a mere investment and not even for residency, I would think it's actually something worth considering, and I'll be more than happy to assist from our side.
Definitely. Antonio, anything from you before we conclude the session?
Well, in my experience, Portugal is certainly one of the more welcoming countries in Europe, and all of the clients that we have been assisting from very different parts of the world have commented on that fact. And I think that whether it's obviously for immigration issues or simply investment purposes, then one needs to feel at home, one needs to feel comfortable wherever he chooses or she chooses to either relocate or invest in. So I would definitely signal that out as the main driver for a lot of people, and a very pleasant surprise for others who were not aware of what Portugal has to offer.
Thank you. So thanks everyone. Desmond, I know you've done your very good summary already, so it's very clear. So thank you, Desmond, Jamie, and Antonio. It was a very, very clear presentation today. I think it's really nice to hear both programs today in one session. To all those who attended, thank you for attending. Our contact details are on the screen. We welcome you to contact us for a private consultation. It'll be very much effective when we actually meet you for a Zoom or even face-to-face in our office, and we'll be able to plan out your entire family's plan according to the most suitable pathway for you. All right, so thank you. We'll be in touch. Look forward to hear from you again. That's all. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good weekend.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thanks, Antonio. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you,
Obrigada.
Desmond. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.